Archbishop Gallagher, Pope is committed to going to Ukraine. Archbishop Paul Richard Gallagher says Pope Francis wishes to go to Kyiv, Ukraine, but when and how this could happen remain unknown, and reflects on the diplomatic failure that did not prevent the war when there were warning signs of violence and aggression. By Deborah Castellano-Lubov and Luca Collodi. Archbishop Paul Richard Gallagher says Pope Francis plans to go to Kyiv, Ukraine, as soon as possible. The Vatican Secretary for Relations with States and International Organizations made these comments on the sidelines of an event to present the annual meeting of Rimini at Palazzo Borromeo, the residence of the Italian Embassy to the Holy See on Tuesday. Speaking to some journalists present, including Vatican Radio's Luca Collodi, Archbishop Gallagher reaffirmed the Pope's interest in visiting the nation under attack, reflected on his own trip to the war-devastated nation recently, and on what he called diplomatic failures that did not work hard enough to prevent the war, despite warning signs. Archbishop Gallagher made an appeal to never forget the war and grow accustomed to it. Interest to go to Ukraine eventually. Responding to questions about a possible papal visit to Ukraine, he reiterated the Pope's desire to go, underlining however that the when and how we do not know. Recalling his own trip to the country, the Vatican official said he was fortunate to go to Kyiv in a moment of serenity on the ground, with bombings taking place both before and after our visit. I registered dismay and disbelief, he continued, to find myself in the war in Europe. At home it was my father and my grandfather who told about war. I saw destruction, protection, and all this is a scandal for us. I saw a people resist, ready to fight and win. All this happened to us, in our time, while we thought that the war was now closed for Europe. As far as diplomacy, Archbishop Gallagher admitted, we must recognize a failure. It did not work. Diplomacy did not know how to avoid this conflict, he said. Need for a diplomacy which prevents. When I arrived in Rome from Australia in 2015, the Pope told me, he shared, that he did not want a diplomacy that reacts but foresees things, a preventive diplomacy. Ukraine tells us that we must try to anticipate conflicts, that diplomacy must have the ability to see the gravity of what is happening in the world. It must reaffirm the fundamental principles of international law. All this represents our failure. Perhaps we have not said any of this. We cannot be silent in the face of violence. While applauding the numerous states in Europe who were not indifferent to the tragedy, he expressed his concern that despite this great reception of Ukrainian refugees throughout Europe, a fatigue could start to set in and this momentum.